Vagabond Moon from Willie Nile, 1980 on his self-titled album. Willie will resume playing live, for those of you, the many of you that miss him, as soon as the social distancing rules wind down everywhere. He has a new album coming your way, New York at Night, set to be released May 15th. Willie is on with me now. Welcome back to Revenge of the 80s Radio, Willie Nile.
Happy to be back with you. Thanks for having me.
Glad you're here, and we've all been stuck under this lockdown while we've been here at the time while we're taping this. Willie, what have you been doing during all of this?
I've been in New York City, in Greenwich Village, trying to stay clear of everybody and trying to stay healthy and laying low. Pretty much laying low, doing some writing, always doing that.
That's going to be hard to do in New York City. The laying low, not the writing. I'm sure there's a lot to write about when it comes to New York.
Well, there's a lot to write about. It's fascinating how, the streets are so deserted. There's people here and there, but not much. And the roads are pretty empty. To walk across Broadway, which I did twice this past week, and look up and down north and south, I saw 3 cars both times. So it's hauntingly beautiful, but eerie. Yeah. And I'm hanging in there.
Oh, we thank you for the PSA you sent out, the video PSA. It's on our Revenge of the 80s radio group. If you're a part of that, you can see it. If not, join it, and you can check it out, or check out Willie's Facebook page. This album, Willie, New York at Night, is likely what the city will need because, really, as we just said, it's in a rough state right now.
Yeah, these are hard times for sure for the city and for everybody. The numbers are just going up and up, and they won't go up forever. We'll get through this, but it's going to be we'll have to be on our A game to get through this, everybody. Everybody looking out for the other guy.
You lived in New York for quite a while, Willie Nile, but it's only a matter of time you would create a full album honoring and highlighting this beautiful city and what it's all about.
I love New York. In 2006, I put a record out called Streets of New York. And it was not a concept album, nor is this new one, New York at Night. I live in New York, and a lot of the songs back then and for this new album, New York at Night, they were, a lot of them were inspired by the city, written here. They're connected one way or another. And the title track, it's just an interesting place. I love the action. I love the energy that's here. There's rich, there's poor, there's everything in between. You've got a cross section of humanity, and I find it fascinating. And it's very inspiring to me. The title track, New York at Night, I wrote that last summer, and I was in Times Square. I went to the Iridium, which is Les Paul's old club, and I went to see someone play. And it was about 10:30 on a Friday night. I was about to take the subway downtown from Times Square, and as I approached the car door of the subway car, I noticed there was a can of whipped cream on the floor near this guy's foot. And as I got closer, I realized that the guy's foot, calves, knees, thighs, he was covered with whipped cream. His lower half, I didn't see his upper half. I didn't want to turn to look. I just thought, I don't know what that is, but I made a left as I got in the car, and it was fairly crowded, so I sat at the far end. I didn't see whoever that was, this guy, but I just thought, wow, New York, it's just one of those unique moments. And when I got out of the subway, coming up at West 4th Street, it was a Friday night, so it was people everywhere, tourists, revelers, locals, all ages, homeless people, you name it. It was just a real wide spectrum of humanity, and I just thought, wow, New York at Night. And as soon as that thought went through my head, I thought, man, that's a song. And I live a few blocks, not too many, so I started writing it as I walked, and by the time I got home, I had the first 2 verses, and I picked up my guitar and I wrote the song. And as soon as I wrote it, I knew that it would be a perfect title for the album. I had a collection of songs I was putting together for a new album. When I wrote that, I thought it's a perfect handle, and I love New York. I really do. It's inspiring to me every single day, even now, as shut down as it is.
True, and you never know what you're getting on the subway, and when New York is running as normal, there has to be a lot to write about. There are all walks of life, all sorts of businesses, a cross-section of people of the entire world. Just a lot to write about.
Yep, yeah. You're right. It's just interesting, the good, the bad, the ugly, and it's just alive. It's hopping, and it's fascinating now that it's in such a unique state. It's just like a Twilight Zone episode. Um, but it's still alive, and the people are very kind to each other, trying to keep their distance. I went to a couple stores yesterday, post office, grocery store, and everybody's very, very kind and courteous to each other. It reminded me a little bit of 9/11. After when 9/11 happened, the weeks that followed, how nice everyone was to each other. Just people looking out for each other, and we were all in the same boat as we are now, and it's inspiring to see.
Willie Nile is with me on Revenge of the 80s Radio, the new album New York at Night, coming out May 15th. You wound up recording this in Weehawken, New Jersey, across the river. Now, my listeners might be thinking, hey, what's this? You're doing a New York album in Jersey? But wait a minute. Hobo Studios is kind of your home ballpark anyway.
I've been making records at the Hobo Sound. My co-producer, Stuart Lerman, a dear, dear friend. I met him when I signed to Columbia years ago, and we've been working together ever since. He's one of my dearest friends, a great producer. He produces all of Martin Scorsese's projects. He won a Grammy for Boardwalk Empire and, movies, TV. He's a great producer. He knows me, really well. And he's great working with the band. He's just a great captain of the ship when I'm in the studio. So his studio's in Weehawken, and that's where I've made the last bunch of records, going back to I think 2000. I think since House of a Thousand Guitars. I recorded some of that at his studio and some of it in my old drummer's studio, Rich Pagano. And then since the Innocent Ones, that I'm making them all with Stuart in his studio, and I love it. It's a great place, inspiring. It's right outside the city. I mean, you just jump on it's the first exit outside the tunnel when you'll go through the Lincoln Tunnel. So it's close. It's in throwing distance.
Or swimming distance, who knows?
There you go.
Most of the new album, Willie, was written over the past year, but perhaps the track most reflective of the stories of people moving to New York to seek their fortune is an older one, an older tune, Run Free. You wrote that with Frankie Lee.
I wrote Run Free with Frankie Lee, in 2003, and I'm always writing songs, and I've written a lot with Frankie over the years. Frankie's a great songwriter, a really good guy, very humble, and just a giant, in my opinion, a great songwriter. So we wrote this song and we recorded it back then. I had my old band, the Worried Dolls, which Andy York, who's been a Mellencamp's lead guitarist for years now, Andy York, Brad Albetta, Rich Pagano. We went in the studio, and I had Chris Palmero on organ. And I couldn't really remember whether I played the piano on that or he did, because 2003. But I wrote this piano hook to the song, and I credited him on the album because I couldn't remember if I did or not. Sounds like my plan, but Chris is a better player than I, so I put his name down. Anyway, we wrote that song, and I've always liked it, and I came across it in a drawer. And I went, oh, I forgot about this one. The timing was like last summer when I was putting this record together. I came across it, and I just thought I got to put this on a record. So I played it for Stuart Lerman, co-producer, and asked what he thought. And he said, you mean you've had this since 2003 and you haven't put it on a record yet? And I said, no, I forgot about it. I've got lots of them. I've got so many songs that I've written, but that was recorded, and we did that up good, and it fit perfectly as an album closer. I'm really happy with how it came out, and happy that it's going to see the light of day.
How much of that song did you draw from your own decision to move to New York City with your own dreams, Willie?
I came to New York City from Buffalo, New York in the early 70s. I had a batch of songs and a guitar and, a dream of hoping to, try to make some records, clearly a long shot, that kind of an idea. So many people come to New York with dreams of being in the arts or whatever it may be, whatever your dream might be. And it's not easy. And I never gave up. I stuck with it, and I got signed to 2 major labels. And with all the ups and downs, once I started putting the records out on my own label, River House Records, it's been a real steady flow, and it's been a really interesting journey. And I came here, there's something to be said for believing in your dreams. You just never know where they'll take you. In my case, I got to tour with The Who across the U.S. 1980, my first record. I've been on stage with Ringo Starr. I toured with Ringo and the All Star Band. I've been really fortunate. There's so many different examples I can give of just following my instincts and trying to follow my heart. And not. I never was in it for the idolatry or the hero worship business. I always just loved the music. It was always the songs for me. The music that I liked growing up. Everly Brothers, Buddy Holly, Fats Domino, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Elvis Presley. That stuff. I was a kid, and I just always loved it. And when the Beatles hit and Dylan and the Kinks, the Stones, that that was it. I had the bug, and I love the music. It means something to me. It makes sense out of this life we're living. It really does. I would do it as a hobby. If I had another career, I would still write songs. But I stuck in there. I hung in there through the good ups and downs, and it's really been a great ride. I go to Europe a few times every year to tour. Imagine you write a song in the quiet of your bedroom or whatever, and next thing you know, you're on stage in front of a crowd with a great band behind you, singing that song, and everybody having a good time. That's a real. I still pinch myself that it's gotten to where it is now, and I got to make this new record. It's one of my favorite records I've ever made. Actually, New York at Night. It's everything about it, the way it sounds, the way the guys played. I got a great band: Johnny Paisano on bass, vocals, John Weber on drums, Matt Hogan on guitar, and also Jimmy K. Bones on guitar. Both of them playing lead guitar. The great Stuart Smith plays guitars, keyboards. He's been with the Eagles for 20 years now. He was in my band in 1991. Great guy, great player. Brian Mitchell, who played with Lee Von Helm for years, played some piano on one track. And everybody brought their A game, and we're all so comfortable working together. It really lends itself to when you're playing all together at once in the studio, which is how we record this stuff. It just works. So this record was a joy to make, and when I listen to it, it's so satisfying. I'm really excited about it. I love the songs on it.
Willie Nile is with me on Revenge of the 80s Radio. The new album coming soon, mid-May it is. New York is Rockin'. Surrender the Moon, another track, has quite an intriguing origin story too, does it not?
Surrender the Moon is a song that my brother John, I'm one of 8 kids, and my youngest brother John lived next door to me for many years, literally next door. Like if I out my door and right across the hall is John's apartment door. And one morning, I think it was about 13, 14 years ago, 15 years ago, he knocked on my door, and he said he wrote songs as well. He scored a film, and he was a musician, very brilliant guy. And he said he had a guitar riff and an idea for a song, and might I be interested? And so he showed me it. I loved it. We had a version of it back then, and then I came across it. I thought, I would always play it from time to time, just myself. I'd have a guitar, and I thought this could fit perfectly in this record, and I could honor John. John died of a heart attack 13 years ago, actually 13 years ago last night, and as we're recording this, and it was just heartbreaking for all of us. So I'm really happy that he would love the version that we cut. He would just love it. And Surrender the Moon, yeah, it's tongue in cheek, it's good fun. And Matt Hogan came up with a great guitar lick for the song. And the main hook, John wrote. And 2 weeks before, but that picking guitar is Matt Hogan, which is so great. And 2 weeks before we went into rehearsals, actually the week before rehearsals in the fall, before we were going to go into record it, I got together with the band to rehearse, and I rewrote like more than half the song, the lyrics. So it's old in a way, and it's also new. And proud to put it on the album. John, my brother John Noonan he'd be happy, I think. I'm certainly happy to have his brilliance on this record.
On the positive side and the fun side of the city, you convey the nightlife in New York at Night, and New York is Rockin'.
New York is Rockin'. It's one of my favorite tracks on the album. I wrote that song with Curtis Stigers, and I met Curtis mid '90s. He had a really huge first album. He sold a lot of records, and some people put us together to write. I met him, and he's a really great artist, great singer, writer, plays great saxophone. He's a really good buddy, and we got together to write a song, and uh, and I had this idea for, I had partially written, so we got together and we finished New York is Rockin', and it's a rocker. It's New York, you know, from Pavarotti to Baryshnikov to the Ramones and CBGBs to, it's full of New York references. It's a party song. It's a feel good song. It feels the way New York makes me feel when I'm feeling really good, and it came out, you know, the recording came out well beyond my wildest dreams. And yeah, I'm really proud of that. It opens the record. It's the first song on the record.
And the album isn't all New York candy apples and strawberries. The Fool Who Drank the
Oh, no.
Ocean may be upbeat in and of itself, but it tells the story of New York's darker side, or the one that could swallow someone up if they're not wise, or perhaps if circumstance keeps beating them down.
Yeah, it's Frankie brought that song. He said he had a lyric, and the fool who drank the ocean. Um, I lost all my everything. The chorus goes, I lost all my everything just to make one dime. And the fool who drank the ocean, thinking it was sweet, sweet wine. And he told me that, and I went, oh, I love that. That's really great. And he had an idea musically, and I said, well, I went over to the piano and came up with this guitar line. It was a piano line, but just a hook. And we wrote that. It had a ball. It's tongue in cheek. It's an exaggerated, get swallowed up by the big city kind of song, but it's real Stonesy. It's somewhere between Stones, the Rolling Stones, and Motown. And I just love the vibe, the feel. John Weber played great on it. Johnny Paisano played great bass. Weber great drums. Matt Hogan came up with some great guitar parts, as did Jimmy Bones. And it's just a party song. It's a good time party song with some good tongue in cheek, lyrics.
Willie Nile is with me on Revenge of the 80s Radio. There are also quite a few songs on New York at Night with love as their theme.
Yeah.
That's particularly important to you on this album, isn't it?
Well, I write all kinds of songs, and it could be a party song, it could be a song about terrorism, and a song about love, loss, and there's a few love songs on this. Under This Roof, there's a song I wrote, which I'm really happy about. The last time we made love, I was staying at my dad's house in Buffalo, and last summer, and late one night I sat at the piano, and the song came out, and there's just and Stuart, I played the piano and sang it live. It's a live performance, top to bottom, and Stuart Smith played some beautiful guitar and some organ on it, and yeah, I mean, what's the song? One of my favorite songs on the record is called "A Little Bit of Love," and again, I was at my dad's house, and a little bit of love goes a long, long way. That phrase just came into my head, and I stopped in my tracks, and I thought, that's a song. Same thing as like New York at Night. Sometimes you'll hear it, you'll hear a phrase or something, some words will pass your head, and you go, that's a song. So I sat down at the piano, and one night, and I just wrote it out, and it came out so beautiful, the recording. The great James Maddox sings great backgrounds on that with Johnny Paisano, Frankie Lee, and I really love that song. It's one of my favorites because it is true. A little bit of love can go a long, long way. This world we live in, it can use a lot of love. It's a hard place. Even if everybody got along, if everybody was pals, if countries got along, it would still be a hard place. And a little bit of love does go a long way towards healing. And yeah, man, love makes the world go round.
Yeah, that would be nice. Willie,
Yep.
There's a documentary about you in the works as well.
Yeah, I got contacted a couple of years ago. This Austrian filmmaker wrote a bunch of emails and expressing an interest in like doing a documentary on me. And I didn't know him, don't know who he was. If Scorsese came up to you, wanted to make a movie about you, it's going to be good. And I figured, well, I don't know who he is, so I didn't take it too seriously. But then he came to New York, wanted to meet me, and a friend convinced me, well, meet him. You never know. So I met him as a courtesy, and I was going to say no. That's why I met him. Went to meet him, but as we talked for a couple of hours, and he told me his ideas. A lot of the things he said were very smart, and I thought maybe this is something. So we've been filming on and off for the last 2 years, and we've been filming a lot this past year, and it's coming along really well. I'm excited about it, and now that there's a stoppage, we can't do nothing with this virus hitting us now, but it's in good shape. So yeah, there'll be a movie coming out at some point, and yeah, hopefully it's good. Hope I don't look like too much of a fool.
Willie, as always, you plan to tour the world to celebrate the album's release. As we now have to deal with the travel restrictions and a pandemic, when might you be hoping to hit that road and perhaps give music fans a hint of light at the end of the proverbial mineshaft we're in right now?
Well, I'm always that's what music does for me. It picks me up. So that's one of the reasons. There was some talk about delaying the release. A lot of people are delaying the releases of the records because you can't tour behind them at the moment. When you make a record, when you can go out on tour, people can see you. You can do interviews, go to radio stations to publicize it so people know about it. But that's not possible in this environment. And my thinking is, you know what? This is a pick-me-up record. It's a feel-good record. There's light in this record. It rocks. It's got some beautiful love songs. It rolls. It's got a lot to it. It's full of life. And I thought, you know what? During this time, it'll be out in the middle of May. And I think it'll be helpful. People have heard a couple of songs. I've gotten a lot of feedback saying that it's uplifting and thank you. And so there is a place for it. I had tours booked in Spain and Italy in April and May, and they're both canceled, postponed. And so yeah, I had shows the other weekend ago. All shows are canceled right now. So we'll get the word out on social media. We'll do videos, and I believe in the music. I'm one who thinks that if it's quality, people will hear it. If it really is any good, then people will tell other people. So I have all the faith in the world. I love this record, the songs. It's very human. It's very it's good energy. It's just good energy. So I'm happy to be putting this out in this dark time. We need some light in this darkness, and I think New York at Night is got a lot of light in it. So yeah, I'm happy about that.
We're happy too, Willie. Willie Nile, thank you again for being with us here on Revenge of the 80s Radio.
Thank you, my friend. It's an honor and a pleasure, and I thank you for taking the time to talk. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Looking forward to that May 15th release of New York at Night. You can pre-order on Willie's website, willienile.com, and we have a link on our page, revengeofthe80sradio.com. Let's play a track from New York at Night, the title track, New York at Night, new from Willie Nile on Revenge of the 80s Radio.